So, everybody, this is Awesome Talk, and we're here with Stephen Van Vuuren. I am Rick.
I am Andrew.
Stones.
Sarah.
And, so here we are.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
before we start with questions, I just thought maybe if you can describe your movie a little, just for people who might not. I mean, we've been sharing stuff about this for the past couple of weeks now, but for anyone who's watching who does not know anything about it, if you can just give a small description so people know what we're talking about.
Okay, sure. I'm doing this basically crazy idea, which is I wanted to make a film that people would feel like they're actually flying through space. And the way I decided to do that was well, I mean, CGI is CGI, and it can look cool, but it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So I decided to use real photographs, and it's a little hard to use real photographs, but the results are pretty awesome. And once I had a little footage go viral, this kind of went from a one guy in his basement to a group of all volunteers scattered around the world that are putting this thing together, and it is still being basically created in my basement at unique.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow,
it's
it's actually kind of amazing how similar that room looks to the room we're in, because there's cameras dangling from ceilings. And...
I think that the major difference is you have a lot more LCD screens than we do, but we might beat you out when it comes to cats.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think we definitely won there.
I have a question. You said you made that comment about people that said stuff like, "Oh, people are starving. We don't need to fund this." It stuck out to me because I've had so many arguments with people I know. Whenever something scientific comes on the news, I know a lot of people that are like, "Why do we waste our money on this when there's people to worry about here and blah blah blah? It's such a waste." And it always makes me so angry because I know how important it is, and people don't really understand the amount of things that they have just in their daily life that came from scientific research, NASA's research, and was part of you making this movie, because when the first time I saw this trailer, which was quite a while ago, one of the it brought tears to my eyes, and one of the things I thought was, now those people will be able to look with their own eyes and say, this is why it's worth it to fund these projects, because of what I'm looking at right now.
Right.
This is real. This is as real as we could possibly get right now. Maybe this will make people understand why those things matter. Was that part of it, or was it more I just really want to make this movie happen?
No, that's 110% of what this film is about. I mean, You're absolutely connecting to the core. That's a good angle. Because what happened, the whole reason I got started down doing this is I had read Carl Sagan's Cosmos when I was a kid.
Yes.
And he talked about this moon Titan. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. We have to go to Titan.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to.
Still.
So I was just another geek following the Cassini mission to Saturn, and it had this lander. It has a spacecraft that's going to land on Titan, and I was like, I expected. I mean, I was an idiot. I thought there was going to be news coverage, and they would do parades and all this kind of crap, because we're landing a spacecraft 1 billion kilometers from Earth. On a moon that's much larger than our moon.
And not even knowing what the surface was going to be like that we were landing on. Or is it even going to be stable? It lasted way longer than we thought it would.
Yeah.
We had no idea.
I mean,
when Cassini got to Titan, I don't know if you guys remember, but there wasn't any live coverage other than you could go to NASA's website.
Yep.
It was
and watch a little
2007.
320 by 240 little video of the Cassini arrival and then the Huygens landing. And I was so angry. And the result of the anger is this film. Because I was like,
wow.
It's because people don't think it has anything to do with them.
Yeah.
But I said, if
That's
people
exactly
were
right.
there, if they were flying through those rings, then it'd be the biggest thing ever.
Right.
Yep.
So that's make this film.
Although
I
the one
absolutely
thing
understand
I want to
anger
say
he's
then,
talking
Yeah.
about.
the one thing I want to say then is I'm kind of glad that they pissed you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because just even with just the teaser footage that I've seen so far, it's mind blowing. And your kitty cat is adorable.
So
I absolutely understand the anger you're talking about. I get that all the time with something. I remember sitting on my bed with my laptop when the LHC went live, and they showed physicists at a bunch of different labs all over the world, all in their pajamas, celebrating and opening champagne. And I was sitting on my bed thinking, I am watching something that's going to one day change the face of science. And then I noticed the next day, none of it was on the news. And I was like, this is so unbelievably disappointing and disheartening that nobody cares that this is happening. And it is so enormous.
And I have a question. So you've been working on this film for roughly 7 years already.
Yes.
And in that 7 years, like I've noticed, especially, I always say this to you, especially in the last year, I feel like we've seen guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye. They're kind of becoming
Michio Kaku
rock stars in a way, and it's
incredible.
fills me with joy to see that, because like when Bill Nye had the debate with the creationist guy,
John Hamm,
Ken Ham.
and when I looked at Facebook the next day and I saw so many people posting support for Bill Nye. And now I see, the Cosmos is now out again
and
with Neil.
Remake, which is...
There seems to be like this perfect storm happening where people are coming together. And then I saw your film, the trailer for your film, and there's this perfect storm that seems to be happening where science is being pushed again, and people seem to be thirsting for it more again. Do you see that? Have you seen a shift in that at all during your experience of producing this film in the last 7 years? Have you seen a shift happen?
Without a doubt. I mean, and I think that's actually, there's a lot of downside to the internet, but there's no question that that's the upside, because it's allowed things to be shared. And also, finally, NASA itself is finally getting a little bit of a clue that, like, oh, the world has changed. And you look at the way that they put out Curiosity versus how they put out Cassini.
Yeah.
They really learn. One of the big battles was, this was something I didn't know, is it was a huge deal that Cassini made its images available to the public directly before the scientists got a hold of it. And there were internal battles, and people were like, well, what are, we can't let these, unwashed hands, and plus, what if somebody, an amateur, discovers something before a scientist does? There's all this kind of stuff. And a couple of times they tried to shut it down.
Wow.
Versus, where we are today, where, it's just the expectation that the stuff is going to be shared. So there has been, I do think the tide is turning. And there is this kind of groundswell, and I attribute it to the fact that because I was a nerd teased in school, but the internet has allowed people who are comfortable with technology, means of self-expression, means of connecting, and it's also demonstrated to other people that, when I was in high school, knowing anything about a computer made you an idiot.
Right.
But now it's like, oh, you get a good job, you blah, 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 you can, it's something that it's valued by society. And I think there's a trickle-down effect about that has started to make stuff like this a little more popular than it was, which is a good thing.
How many people do you think you have working with you on this project at this point? I mean, are you like in the 50, 100, 200? Where are you at with as far as where all this
the online
content's
support.
coming from? Yeah, where's it coming? Like, how many people is it coming from? You think?
There's a because everybody's a volunteer, so everybody has a day job. So there's a core group. I mean, there's myself. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, I've been able to work on this, pretty much around the clock all the time, because of a whole other side tangent. Is in the process of doing this, I figured out how to make something called digital cinema packages. And I make these digital cinema packages for other starving filmmakers. And that's allowed me to basically have the time to work on this full time. So there's me working on it all the time. And then there's about a core group of 10 people who work 10 to 15, 20 hours a week on the film. And then there's about another 20, 25 people who, kind of work on stuff. some, just a few hours a week. Sometimes they can do a little bit more, sometimes not. And then there's about a group of I think it's about 35 that are independent image processors that donate their images.
So you got about 100 people, 7,500 people.
Yeah, they're not working directly. Exactly, they're not working directly on the film, but they've contributed, images that they've worked on over the past.
They've all touched
10,
on it.
15
Yeah.
years.
That's great.
Yeah, so there's tens of thousands of hours from other people, and it's really a collective effort.
Wow.
That's great.
Can you?
I think that's gotten really messed up with how people think about the world. Is we don't see the stars when we walk outdoors anymore, which is really a big shame. I believe if you wanted to do one thing to change the world for the better, there would be no light pollution, and when you walked outside, you would see the stars.
Absolutely, yeah. I am absolutely for. There's places that try and push for there to be areas and communities where just for observing the sky, where there's no light allowed, and I wish that there was more push for that in places.
There's this really, it's weird. There's a really sweet documentary on Netflix that I'm trying to remember. I think it's like Lights Out or something like that. And it was exactly that. It was all of the light pollution and whatnot. There's this one town in the middle of Arizona called Sky City. And like they have a light ordinance as opposed to like a noise ordinance. So like you can only have certain wattage light bulbs after certain hours, and there's no street lights or anything like that. And the sky view is absolutely incredible.
More of that.
But actually, back to your point about I'll tell you two cool things about the film. One is that a lot of people who say, "Well, space makes me feel small," I often find are people who don't actually look at it.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you actually are working, like that's the thing that's what sustains me through all the kind of crap that you have to go through to try to pull together a film like this, and especially when you get to have the good problems that you get into distribution in theaters and paperwork and rights and all this kind of stuff. But the actual working with the images, when I spend day in and day out looking at whether it's Cassini or Hubble, I mean, it is such a powerful, spiritual, awesome thing to do that if I were just doing this for my own entertainment, and there's a guy that, a volunteer, that image processor that is in Australia, and this guy named Adam Keel, and he works as a satellite image processor by day for the Australian government, and he was processing LRO, which is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. He was processing those images, and he told me, he's like, in fact, he started working on the film and then fell off for a while and then came back. He says, "I've just got to come back. So I can't get home and watch the news and, deal with all this bullshit at my job and all this kind of thing." He says, "When I work on these images, I feel at peace."
I agree.
And
I understand
that's
that.
what people don't get. It's like we've lost that connection. It's like, we take a little vacation, whatever, fishing, whatever. We go out in the wilderness. It was like, I could take a breath. But think if that was like most of what we did every day was take that breath. We would not be the miserable bastards that we are right now.
Oh, right.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
A question that's off. I just wanted to ask it because I was listening to you talk about how much you loved Saturn in an interview that was on your website. And I just wanted to ask personally, because I have my money on Europa for being the place in our general area that has life. I was wondering if you're a Titan guy for that, or an Enceladus guy for that, or a Europa guy for that.
Man, that's a great question. I think
Enceladus.
I'm still with Titan.
Yeah, most people do.
It's the whole water thing.
Europa is really cool, but one of another thing that really pisses me off is that they have to go, well, should we go to Titan, or should we go to Europa, or should we go to Enceladus?
Yeah.
All wrong answers. We should be going to all of them.
We should.
It's not should we, it's we should.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like, get rid of a couple of those useless ass tank programs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That would easily fund those missions. And the thing is that back to your, someone said the word orchestra, and you're talking about inspiration, and this thing is that's the whole reason when I got into this film going into IMAX theaters, a lot of these theaters are like, no, you need charts, you need graphs, you need interviews, you need talking heads, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
bullshit.
No. What you need is what I need, which is I was an astronaut. Why do you want to be an astronaut? I want to fly in space. It's not complicated. Being able to have that experience does really change. And this really awesome thing happened last year is, when I was making this film, it's like, I didn't really think, little kids, like 3 or 4 years old would be interested in this kind of film. But there's this event called Astronomy Days that a museum in Raleigh, North Carolina does, and they've asked us to be a part of that. And I've gone down there, and I've just shown unedited random footage that's not even posted online. It's just kind of work in progress clips, 15, 20 minutes. And it's in a small auditorium. It's not even a giant screen. And they're just all these people who come in that don't really know what the film is. They've never seen a teaser, and they come in, and I talk a little bit, and they're there with, they're mostly families. And it ends up being packed every year. And this last year, I'm doing a little Q&A at the end, and all these young kids are asking me, kids from 5 to 10 years old are asking kind of interesting questions. But then this little girl, she might have been 3 or 4 at best, comes walking up all the way to the front of the auditorium. And I'm like, oh my God, she's going to ask to go to the bathroom, when is this going to be? And she looks up at me and says, what is beyond the edge of the universe?
Oh God, that's an awesome little philosopher right there.
It's like, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it's by far the best question. I mean, the adult questions were all kind of dorky questions. I told her, I said, I don't know, but I bet you might be the person that answers that question.
Nice.
Wow.
That is great.
That's
wow.
awesome.
Oh, there's a clink to that in
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
I'm sorry. That was, wow.
I'm like, if this is the end of the film and I get hit by a bus today, it's a success.
Call that a win.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is a win.
One other thing that I really wanted you to talk about before you went was if you can give a little information for people that are watching that might want to also join in on volunteering.
Yeah, plug yourself, please, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plug yourself like crazy.
Yeah. We actually have a little bit of a volunteer push here. One of our kind of key volunteers has had kind of some personal problems and fallen out, so we're trying to do some supplemental. But we need people to do all sorts of things, and you don't need any skills whatsoever. One of the urgent needs is we just need people who've got time to waste on the internet, want to download stuff. And it's just downloading pictures. We need people that speak other languages and who do translations. We're getting the teaser rolled out. That's a big part of the film, and the reason we don't have narration and voices in it is we want anybody in any part of the world to have the same experience watching it. So we're going to get the teaser out in about 25 different languages. So especially people that might speak Arabic or Mandarin or Javanese or Indian or dialects thereof, we definitely need some translation volunteers. And if you're a little on the geekier side, you've done a little Photoshop, you do a little Java programming, or you're just like to waste time on social media, we need some social media volunteers. All of that would be really helpful right now. And just go to the website, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll get you connected.
Can you say all the I don't, but can you say all the addresses for where people can find all this stuff, like all the web addresses?
Sure. The easiest way is just insaturnsrings.com.
Okay.
And then we're at InSaturnsRings on Twitter, and then thankfully, to the good gods at Google, if you just type in Saturn's Rings in any search engine, you'll get right there. We're easy to find. That's been one of the blessings of all the viral coverage.
Excellent.
Excellent. Did anybody have anything else they absolutely wanted to ask?
I just want to say thank you so
Yes,
much. I am
this has been an
so
honor talking
honored
to
to
you.
talk to someone that cares so much about educating the public and getting more people interested in astronomy. Because it's just lacking so much, and you have so much dedication. I honestly, I don't get teary at movie trailers, okay? Like, yeah, I'm geeking out hard. It's all right.
She's got her geek on. We're letting her go.
And it was simply because I was like, this is the data that people never get to understand in their daily life. Like, this is the result of that, and that is so amazing. You're doing amazing things. I'm so happy you talked to us.
I promise you that when this video airs on Tuesday, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure it looks amazing and sounds amazing.
And to get
everything in our
everyone to
power.
watch this.
We're going to
Get as
try our
many people
damnedest
to watch it as possible.
to do it justice, definitely.
Absolutely. So we're going to...
I mean, it's been a blast talking to you guys. This is by far the most fun interview I've ever done.
Well,
Excellent.
Well,
We'll take that as a win, too.
Listen,
That's cool.
they built a bar, and we have beer mug sponsors, and the show is a 3-hour-long show about people sitting around a bar getting drunk and talking about stuff.
And we all have...
That's my only disappointment is I'm not there and I don't have a beverage in my hand. I've learned my lesson, and I tell you what, bug your local IMAX theater that they got to play this film. And
Absolutely.
Got it.
I will, and that's one. Go ahead.
Be in person.
I would love to do that. I will
definitely.
absolutely do that.
But I personally cannot wait to see this on the big screen. Like just seeing it on her iMac, just a MAC, not a MAX. But just seeing it on that nice little HD screen, the trailer is incredible. I cannot wait until I see it like bigger than a two-floor two-family house. I cannot wait. I'm so thrilled.
I can't wait either. And we want to donate to it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome talk.
And we also are encouraging anybody out there that's watching the interview, that's watching our show, if you have just a sliver of love for science, and most of you probably have bigger than that, go fucking donate.
Or you better.
Yeah.
If not, you're gonna love science starting now.
So here's where we start.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Donate.